Hey, it's Drybear. The last few days I've been messing around a bunch with different builds for Deathstalker, and luckily Deathstalker is a lot easier to pub than some of the other bosses, namely Gluttony, which was a huge mess for a lot of the community. But today I have an easy to get online build that's going to make Deathstalker incredibly straightforward for you to either solo queue or even go in with premates. And it's actually a Yujin build, so I know some people don't like investing in adorable Descendants. This is actually a very cheap build. It'll be about 5 or 6 catalysts into the build, and it's perfect for endgame activities. The reason Deathstalker is so incredibly dangerous for a lot of groups is that you're going to get constant group-wide damage in the form of just the ring that pulses out during the combat, as well as the debuff that gets applied to targets that lowers their maximum HP. When that debuff gets cleansed, your HP isn't recovered. So if you get debuff down to 50% HP and you get the debuff removed, you're now sitting at exactly 50% HP, which means technically that debuff did 50% of your maximum HP in damage because you didn't get healed up. But Yujin has crazy options for cleansing and healing and recovery, and now he also applies both healing to HP and increases your missing shield value as well, which means that he can very easily keep everyone alive, and his passive allows him to res twice as fast as others, which gives him a very easy time keeping everyone alive on top of that. And if you throw in a blue beetle into this build, you make it so you can cleanse yourself every time you use a singular ability, which you have with your 1 and your 3. Very easy to do. You can blow down Deathstalker and keep everyone alive while carrying everyone on your shoulders. Now, I ran this in a bunch of different scenarios, so let's talk through some of the strategies around this build specifically and what you'll want to pay attention to. In a lot of the endgame builds that we're seeing for Deathstalker, people are trying to run overwhelming shield with a lot of shield value, mainly because in this fight, you only get debuffed on your max HP, you don't get debuffed on your actual shield value. So shield goes a long way in this fight because you're able to take a lot of damage without losing the debuff. However, if you're running Blue Beetle, you'll be removing your own debuff often, and of course, if you're doing the mechanics properly by removing the stopwatch areas in the fight, as well as doing the Fury mechanic, you will be cleansing your own debuff constantly, and the debuff just falls off on its own as well, which means you'll be able to heal that back up. Knowing that you're playing Yujin and you will always have an endless supply of healing available to keep yourself alive as you're burning down the boss means that you don't really have to worry about it as much, and I found that a mixture of having some, like a good amount of HP, some shields, like anywhere from 2,000 to 5,000 shields, and then a good amount of defense, like 8,000 to 12,000, means that you have a very flexible build. You can see that even though you're running long periods of time with a low HP value, once you cleanse and heal back up, you'll have a lot of freedom to play around with that and a lot of ways to keep your team alive as well. And this build just kind of removes a lot of the pressure points that you get with this boss fight that makes grouped play challenging. You can focus on destroying the ads that come up, the shields, the skulls, the masks, as well as the kingfishers. And then as soon as those debuffs fall off, either by doing the frenzy mechanic, the fury mechanic, or by using the stopwatches, you can instantly heal everyone's HP way back up and also be able to increase their max HP for the duration as well, which has some nice interactions with the way the debuff works too. So you actually have some awesome things you can do with this build. And as you can see, if you watch the top right corner for the HP values of my team, they can take a bunch of damage, drop down, I can pop a heal. This is a party-wide effect. Everyone jumps back up to full shields, full HP. They take damage again, full shields, full HP, and they're constantly being refreshed, which means they can just focus on dealing with the fight. And if they miss a couple jumps on the ring, or they get hit by some skulls, or they get debuffed in some cases, it's not really a big deal because you have so much redundancy built in with the amount of healing and damage reduction that you have in part of it as well. So this combination makes this fight so incredibly easy and straightforward. And I think that if you're someone that just wants to farm Deathstalker for maxing out your Frostwatcher, picking up a Yujin, putting a little bit of investment into him, and keeping him stocked up is going to be an easy win. You can go in solo queue, you can go in with a group, and all you really need is like a blue beetle or a wave of light or something that really stacks with it to keep the damage stacked up high, and then from that point, you're going to be able to breeze right through it. Now, I reran the numbers for the updated blue beetle, and I found that charge amplification is actually a huge increase in damage for this build. So for the blue beetle specifically, since you want to use it for cleansing the debuff, weak point expansion, and then you want all firearm attack mods, rifling reinforcement, action and reaction, charge amplification, put all these together for massive increase in damage. And even though charge amplification is going to lower your crit damage scalar, you still have about 25% crit on the blue beetle, and adding better concentration is worth it more than things like target detection or marksman or things like that. Fire rate up, weak point sight are super good here, and you actually do want recycling genius and reload expert. Because everything else falls off, you don't have enough scaling here for crit chance, you don't have enough scaling for crit damage, better concentration wins out, but you actually get a lot more value out of Recycling Genius and Reload Expert than you do with adding more weak point like Have Aiming, especially if you don't like the accuracy loss that you get with that module. So this is going to be my recommendation for this build and for Blue Beetle against the Deathstalker boss fight in general. And you want to roll bonus attack versus Colossus. Crit strike damage still wins out as the 4th best stat, though it's not too much better than the others. And then firearm attack and electric attack, because we know that Deathstalker is toxic. You want to counter that with electric and do some extra damage to get that 33% damage multiplier on top of that as well. Then for this, I like running 2 Invader, which is the new set from Deathstalker, and 2 Bravery. This is going to give you a nice increase to shields. And again, like I mentioned, I like running with Battle of Stamina, increased HP, increased defense for a good mixture of defense and HP. You have a lot of HP to play around with as Yujin, and then having the increased shields from your Bravery and Invader sets means you should end up at about 12 to 14,000 HP, about 12,000 defense, and anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 shields. And that all rounded together gives you so much room to play around with the debuff, cleansing the debuff, healing up after the debuff, using your shields when you need to. And every single time you use your ultimate, especially with Duty and Sacrifice, you're going to be increasing your HP and your shields at the same time with a good amount of healing value on that. And because of that, you don't want to have too many shields or too many HP. Having both of those together, I think, is the best option. And since you're going to be spamming a lot of heals, I like having some MP recovery here. So maximize conservation as part of those mods. And you also want to do max MP on your sensor, max MP recovery on your sensory recovery in combat, recovery, and then MP recovery modifier on your memory as well. MP recovery out of combat during a Colossus fight is not going to be crazy value, but there's not a whole lot else we can run on our auxiliary here as well. So for the auxiliary, I would run the Bravery set for the auxiliary and for the processor, with max shield on both as part of that set, max HP, MP recovery, max shield, toxic resist. It's going to give you a nice well-rounded amount of there. And then you also have your double max HP from Invader, MP recovery, defense, MP recovery for that as well. So 2 Invader, 2 Bravery, good shields, good HP, good defense. All around, it gives you a very balanced build, and you'll be healing through that quite easily. On top of that, I do recommend running Perfect Anti-Venom against Deathstalker, even if you run level 0, like unupgraded Perfect Anti-Venom. The reason being is that you have so many sources of toxic damage during the boss fight. It means that you're constantly being applied the poison dot. So the ring that comes out of Deathstalker, poison dot. The skulls, poison dot. The AoEs from some of the deployables, poison dot. So by being poison immune for this fight, you save yourself a ton of headache because it lowers a lot of the incoming damage you're going to be taking, which works great, especially since you're going to be having, you know, reduced max HP if you're not running overwhelming shield on top of that. Then I like rounding out the build with MP conversion, nimble fingers. Since we're going to be using our ultimate ability, our number 4, we need a lot of cooldown reduction on that. So focus on non-attribute. Nimble fingers and MP conversion gives us a bunch of cooldown reduction. We'll have it on our reactor as well, which is going to go a long way. And then I like running safe recovery for extra recovery here. If you wanted to, you could also mix in some extra recovery with medical support. This is a nice HP heal is your outgoing healing. So safe recovery gives you a damage reduction and HP heal. You can even work in medical support if you want. This is going to increase your overall heal, which is excellent for your group. I found that safe recovery was sufficient to give enough healing to your group. As long as you're popping it on cooldown, you can keep everyone safe. And then for skill modules on the top end, I would run Duty and Sacrifice. You have some other options with the other two, but I think this one is the best because it's going to make your AoE give shield HP and HP heal on top of everything, and applies a regeneration over time to help keep targets boosted, and it just makes everything so much cleaner. You can maximize this out for 4 cost and have this stacked in the build, and it makes everything work really cleanly. Lastly, for Reactor, you can run any mount that you want here. I know a lot of people like running Enduring Legacy on Yujin. You can run Disastrous Devotion. You can run with Secret Garden. All of these are great choices, but if you're running Blue Beetle, you probably want to get a Blue Beetle mount here. It's not going to be the end of the world if you don't have the right mount, but it is useful for some things on the scaling here. Yujin's scaling for healing is a little odd, and it's not worth getting into in this video, but it is worth it if you want to do Blue Beetle with this. For, like, some people may just want to have an actual preset setting for when I do Deathstalker, I pull this build, and this build will carry any group through Deathstalker easily. You want a non-attribute fusion power reactor, and for this I would run HP heal modifier on the stats and then skill cooldown on the stats as well, because we want the lowest possible cooldown on our ultimate here. So this goes down to like maybe 10 seconds or so. You have an easy way putting that down with the reactor mod. I think I have purple cooldown on my reactor right now, so if you gold, it would go down even more, but being able to pop your ultimate as much as possible is awesome. And then being able to use your stimulant spray is a huge win as well. You can run with these others, like if you have the mana, you can mark Deathstalker with Restructure Serum, and you can mark a target that you want to stand near with Solidary Hearing, and this is going to be a huge overall gain in HP. But the big thing here is that you're going to get a bunch of healing from this and some damage reduction from this. You can actually use Stimulant Spray to cleanse yourself using Blue Beetle, and then you can also put the extra healing on, plus the damage reduction, and of course the extra healing coming from your ultimate, your number 4 ability, and all of a sudden everyone in your party is going to be well off and easy to go. And that's the build. Super easy to get online. I've done Deathstalker with this specific build like 40 times already. We did it like 35 times today without a single failure overall, and it's just like you can just see people in the party lowering HP, taking hits, and you can just pop them right back up. And a lot of people that you party with will notice that like they can focus on doing mechanics, fighting the boss, doing the ads. You can res people super fast, super easy, and it means that they can just have some breathing room with the constant amount of damage coming out. And even if they do get debuffed, you'll instantly pop them back up to full HP and play around that super easy. So I'll leave that link down below in the comments in the description if you want to use this build for your play, and you'll be able to clear out your Deathstalkers with ease and get the loot that you need. If you found value in today's video, leave a like down below, leave a comment for the algorithm to help this video get seen by more people, and don't forget to check out my other channels for other content and other stuff and other things.